The ship came down from the sky on a Tuesday morning. Captain Tay stood on the landing platform with his hands behind his back. He wore his military uniform, the dark blue fabric pressed and perfect. Beside him stood Lieutenant Hana, a young woman with sharp eyes and a translator device attached to her ear. They watched the alien vessel descend through the clouds. The ship was beautiful in a strange way. It looked like liquid silver, always moving and changing shape. It made no sound as it landed on the concrete platform. Tay did not move. He had been trained for this moment his entire life. First contact with alien life. The biggest event in human history. The ship's door opened with a soft hiss. Light poured out from inside, so bright that Tay had to squint his eyes. Then the aliens walked out. There were 3 of them. They stood on 2 legs like humans, but that was where the similarities ended. Their skin was pale purple. Their heads were large and smooth, with no hair at all. Each alien had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on their face. They wore white robes that flowed like water. The alien in the middle stepped forward. She was taller than the others. Her 4 eyes looked at Tay with curiosity. "I am Ambassador Velos of the Galactic Union," she said. Her voice was strange, like many voices speaking at once. "We come in peace to assess your species." Tay gave a small bow. "I am Captain Tay of the United Earth Defense Force. Welcome to our planet." Velos looked around the landing platform. Behind Tay, there were soldiers standing in neat rows. They held no weapons, as ordered. This was supposed to be a peaceful meeting. But Tay noticed that Velos looked at the soldiers with something like amusement. "Your species is very young," Velos said. "You have only been traveling in space for 60 of your years. The Galactic Union has existed for over 100,000 years. We have seen many young species like yours." Tay said nothing. He simply nodded and gestured toward the building behind him. "Please, Ambassador. We have prepared a meeting room for the discussions." Velos followed Tay into the United Nations headquarters. Her 2 companions walked behind her, their 4 eyes looking at everything. They seemed fascinated by the building, touching the walls and examining the lights as they walked through the long hallway. Velos noticed the paintings on the walls. They showed men and women in old military uniforms. Some stood on battlefields. Others sat on horses. Many held swords and guns. "These are your leaders?" Velos asked. "Some of them," Tay replied. "They are generals and commanders from our history." Velos nodded but did not seem very interested. She was already thinking about other things. Her job was to evaluate humanity, to decide if they were ready to join the Galactic Union. Most young species passed the evaluation easily. They were usually simple, peaceful beings who had stumbled upon space, traveled by accident. Velos expected humans to be the same. The meeting room was large and bright. A long table sat in the middle, with chairs on both sides. One side had normal chairs for the humans. The other side had been specially made for the aliens, taller and wider to fit their bodies. Tay sat down across from Velos. Hana sat beside him, ready to help with translation if needed. The other humans in the room were politicians and scientists, all chosen carefully for this meeting. "Let us begin," Velos said. She pulled out a small device and placed it on the table. A holographic screen appeared in the air above it. "I will ask you questions about your species. Your answers will help us decide if humanity is ready to join the greater galaxy." Tay nodded. "We are ready." Velos began with simple questions. She asked about Earth's climate, its resources, its population. She asked about human biology, how long humans lived, what they ate. Tay answered each question calmly and clearly. Then Velos asked about human technology. She seemed mildly impressed that humans had nuclear power and basic space travel. But it was clear she had seen much better technology from other species. Your medical science is interesting, Velos admitted. You have made progress in fighting diseases. Many young species struggle with this. Tay allowed himself a small smile. We have had a lot of practice. Velos did not understand what he meant. She moved on to the next set of questions. Now I must ask about your social structure, she said. How is your species organized? Do you have a single leader or many? We have many nations, Tay explained. Each nation has its own government. But for matters involving the whole planet, we work together through the United Nations. Velos tilted her head. Many nations? You are not unified under one rule? No, we have nearly 200 separate nations. The aliens exchanged glances. This was unusual. Most species unified under a single government long before they achieved space travel. Having many separate nations seemed primitive and inefficient. How do these nations interact? Velos asked. Do they trade with each other? Share resources? Yes, Tay said. They trade. They make agreements. They work together on some things. And do they disagree sometimes? Tay paused for just a moment. Hana glanced at him from the corner of her eye. Yes, Tay said slowly. They disagree sometimes. Velos made a note on her device. That is normal for young species. Disagreements happen. But I assume these disagreements are resolved through discussion and negotiation. Tay's face remained perfectly still. Sometimes. The meeting continued for several more hours. Velos asked about human art, music, and culture. She asked about human families and relationships. She asked about human dreams and hopes for the future. Through it all, Tay noticed that Velos seemed confident, almost bored. She had done this many times before. To her, humans were just another primitive species waiting to be judged on. As the first day of meetings came to an end, Velos stood up from her chair. Thank you for your cooperation, she said. Tomorrow, we will discuss the final topic. Your species' military history. She said the word military like it was a small thing, unimportant. It is a standard question. Most young species have very little to report. Tay stood up as well. He gave another small bow. We look forward to it, Ambassador. After the aliens left, Hana turned to Tay. Her face was troubled. Sir, should we prepare them? For tomorrow? Tay looked at the door where the aliens had gone. His eyes were distant, like he was seeing something far away. No, he said quietly. Let them ask their question. Let them see for themselves. He walked to the window and looked up at the stars. They have no idea what they're dealing with. That night, Velos wrote her preliminary report. She described humans as a typical young species. A bit more aggressive than some, perhaps. But nothing unusual. Nothing to worry about. She had never been more wrong about anything in her long life. Tomorrow, she would ask about Earth's military history, and everything she thought she knew about humanity would be destroyed. The second day began with rain.vel. Os watched the water fall from the sky through the window of her guest quarters. On her home planet, water was precious. It was kept in underground tanks and used carefully. But here on Earth, it simply fell from the clouds for free. This planet was rich in ways the humans did not even understand. She turned away from the window and prepared for the day's meeting. Today was the military assessment, the final step before she could complete her evaluation of humanity. Velos was not worried. Military assessments were usually the easiest part. Young species typically had very few conflicts in their history. Perhaps a border dispute or two? Maybe a small war over resources. Nothing significant. She walked to the meeting room with her two assistants. The humans were already there, waiting. Captain Tay sat in the same seat as yesterday. Lieutenant Hana was beside him, her translator device glowing softly against her ear. "Good morning, Ambassador," Tay said. His face was calm, almost too calm. "Good morning," Velos replied. She sat down and activated her holographic screen. "Today we will discuss your military history. This is required for all species wishing to join the Galactic Union. We need to understand your capacity for violence." Tay nodded. "We understand." Velos looked at her notes. "I will ask you several questions. Please answer honestly and completely. Any deception will be detected and will result in immediate disqualification from the Union." "We will be honest," Tay said. Velos began with simple questions. She asked about human weapons. What kinds did they have? How powerful were they? Tay described guns and missiles. He mentioned tanks and ships and aircraft. Velos made notes. The weapons were primitive but effective. Nothing unusual for a species at humanity's level of development. Then she asked about nuclear weapons. "Yes," Tay said. "We have nuclear weapons." Velos paused. This was slightly concerning. Most young species did not develop nuclear weapons until much later in their history. "How many nuclear weapons do you have?" she asked. Tay looked at Hana. She pulled up some information on her tablet. "Currently, approximately 13,000 nuclear warheads exist on Earth," Hana said. Velos blinked all four of her eyes at once. 13,000? Why would you need so many? Tay's expression did not change. "For safety." "Safety from what?" "From each other." Velos felt a cold feeling in her stomach, but she pushed it aside. Surely this was just the paranoia of a young species. They would grow out of it. She moved on to the main question. The question she asked every species. The question that would tell her everything she needed to know about humanity's violent nature. "For our official records," Velos said, "I need to know your total military history. How many conflicts has Earth fought?" She expected a simple answer. A number. 5 conflicts. 10. Maybe 20 if humans were particularly aggressive. She had her stylus ready to write down the number. Captain Tay did not answer immediately. He looked at Lieutenant Hana. Hana looked back at him. Something passed between them. An understanding. A shared knowledge of something huge. Then Tay turned back to Velos. "Which year?" he asked. Velos did not understand. "Pardon? Which year do you want to know about?" Tay repeated. His voice was patient, like he was explaining something to a child. "Are you asking about conflicts in a specific year? Or a specific century? Or do you want the total for all of human history?" Velos felt confused. This was not how the conversation was supposed to go. "I am asking for your total number of military conflicts," she said slowly. "The complete count. From the beginning of your species until now." Tay looked at Hana again. Hana began typing on her tablet. Numbers and dates scrolled across the screen, moving so fast that Velos could barely follow them. "Ambassador," Hana said, "I need to ask for clarification. When you say conflicts, do you mean wars between nations? Or do you also want to include civil wars, rebellions, revolutions, colonial conflicts, tribal warfare, border disputes?" Velos stared at her. "All of them." "I want the total number." Hana kept typing. The numbers kept scrolling. "And do you want to include ongoing conflicts?" Hana continued. "Currently, there are approximately 40 armed conflicts happening on Earth right now. Should I add those to the count?" 40? Velos's voice was higher than before. "You have 40 wars happening right now? At this very moment?" Tay nodded slowly. "Yes. How is that possible?" "You are one species on one planet. We have many nations," Tay reminded her, "and many disagreements." Velos grabbed the edge of the table. Her purple skin had become pale. Just give me a number. An estimate. How many conflicts has humanity fought in total? Hana looked at her tablet. She took a deep breath. Throughout recorded human history, which is approximately 5,000 years, we estimate that humanity has engaged in over 15,000 wars and major conflicts. This does not include smaller battles, skirmishes, or local violence. The room became very quiet. Velos could not speak. Her four eyes were wide open. Her assistants behind her had stopped moving entirely. 15,000 wars. In 5,000 years. That meant 3 wars every single year on average. Every year. For 5,000 years. That is impossible, Velos whispered. No species could survive that level of violence. Tay's face remained calm. And yet, here we are. Velos turned to her assistants. Check the translation. There must be an error. The translator must be broken. One of her assistants scanned the room with a device. The translation is correct, Ambassador. The human is telling the truth. Velos turned back to Tay. Her hands were shaking. How? She demanded. How can your species fight so many wars and still exist? On my planet, we have had 2 wars in our entire history. 2 wars in 100,000 years. And we nearly destroyed ourselves both times. Tay leaned forward slightly. Ambassador, we have had 2 wars in the last 100 years alone. They were called World Wars. The first one killed about 20 million people. The second one killed over 70 million. Velos felt like she might be sick. 70 million dead, she repeated. In a single war. Yes. And your species continued after that. Tay nodded. We rebuilt. We always rebuild. Hana pulled up a new screen. It showed a timeline of human history. Red marks covered the entire thing, from beginning to end. Every red mark was a war. Ambassador, Hana said gently, there has not been a single day in recorded human history without a war happening somewhere on Earth. Not one day. We have been fighting continuously for as long as we have existed. Velos stared at the timeline. Red marks everywhere. Violence everywhere. Death everywhere. She had come to Earth expecting to find simple farmers who had stumbled upon space travel. Instead, she had found something else entirely. She had found warriors. She had found survivors of endless self-destruction. She had found the most battle-hardened species in the galaxy. The evaluation, Velos said slowly, will need to be reconsidered. Tay nodded. Take all the time you need, Ambassador. But they both knew the truth. There was no form, no evaluation, no test that could prepare the Galactic Union for what humanity really was. The aliens had come looking for peaceful primitives. They found monsters instead, and the monsters were smiling politely at them from across the table. Velos could not sleep that night. She lay in her guest quarters, staring at the ceiling. The information she had learned kept repeating in her mind. 15,000 wars. 70 million dead in a single conflict. 40 wars happening right now, at this very moment. How could any species survive such violence? She got up and walked to the window. Outside, the human city glowed with lights. Millions of people lived down there, going about their normal lives, working, eating, sleeping, loving. And somewhere on this planet, people were also killing each other. The next morning, Velos requested a private meeting with Captain Tay. She needed to understand more. She needed to know how humans had done it, how they had fought so many wars and still existed. Tay agreed to the meeting. He came alone, without Lieutenant Hana. He sat across from Velos in a small room with no windows. You did not sleep, Tay observed. No, Velos admitted. I have many questions. Ask them. Velos took a deep breath. In your history, what was the worst war? The one with the most death? Tay thought for a moment. The Second World War. It lasted 6 years. Over 70 million people died. Entire cities were destroyed. Countries were conquered and occupied. Tell me about it. So Tay told her. He spoke for a long time. He described the rise of evil leaders who wanted to rule the world. He described the invasion of peaceful countries. He described the death camps where millions of innocent people were killed for no reason except hate. Velos listened in horror. And this evil, she said when he finished, it was defeated? Yes, the other nations came together. They fought back. It took years, and millions more died, but eventually the evil was destroyed. How? How did you defeat something so terrible? Tay's eyes grew distant. We did something we had never done before. We split the atom. Velos knew about atomic energy. It was common in the galaxy. You used nuclear power? No, we used nuclear weapons. We dropped 2 atomic bombs on enemy cities. Over 200,000 people died in seconds. Velos felt sick. You'd killed 200,000 people with just 2 weapons? Yes, and it ended the war. But those people, they were innocent. They were not soldiers. Tay nodded slowly. I know. It is a wound that still hurts us. But at the time, we believed it would save more lives than it took. The war would have continued for years without it. Millions more would have died. Velos did not know what to say. The idea was horrifying, using such a weapon against innocent people. And yet, in a strange way, she understood the logic. After that war, she said, did your species learn? Did you stop fighting? Tay almost laughed. It was a sad sound. No, we did not stop. We could not stop. Within 5 years, we were fighting again. Different wars, different enemies, but always fighting. He pulled out his tablet and showed her a list. It seemed endless. The Korean War, he read. The Vietnam War, the Gulf Wars, the Afghan War, the Syrian War, the Ukrainian War. These are just some of the major ones. There were hundreds of smaller conflicts happening at the same time. But why? Velos demanded. Why do you keep fighting? You have nuclear weapons. You know you could destroy yourselves. Why do you not simply stop? Tay was quiet for a long moment. Ambassador, he said finally, I do not have a good answer for you. Maybe we fight because we are afraid. Maybe we fight because we are greedy. Maybe we fight because we have always fought, and we do not know any other way. He looked at her with eyes that had seen too much. But I can tell you one thing. Every time we fight, we learn something. We become stronger. We develop new technology. We find new ways to survive. Our medicine, our machines, our computers, all of them came from war. Every great leap forward in human history started with conflict. Velos thought about this. On her planet, progress was slow and careful. They made small improvements over thousands of years. But humans seem to evolve through violence. What about now? She asked. You have reached space. You have found other species. Will you still fight? I do not know, Tay admitted. I hope not, but I cannot promise anything. Velos stood up and walked to the corner of the room. She needed a moment to think. The Galactic Union has existed for 100,000 years, she said. In all that time, we have had only one major conflict. It was called the Great War. It lasted for 50 years, and nearly 1 billion beings died. It was the most terrible event in galactic history. She turned to face Tay. That single war traumatized the entire galaxy. Species still have nightmares about it. We built the Galactic Union specifically to prevent another war like it. Tay nodded. I understand. No, I do not think you do. Velos stepped closer to him. In your World War II alone, 70 million died in 6 years. Our Great War killed 1 billion in 50 years. The rate of death was almost the same. She let that sink in. Your species experienced a horror equal to our greatest catastrophe. And then you did it again. And again. And again. For thousands of years. Tay said nothing. How are you not extinct? Velos whispered. How are you not destroyed? Any other species would have vanished long ago. They would have killed themselves completely. But you just keep going. Tay thought carefully before answering. We are stubborn, he said simply. When we fall, we get back up. When we break, we fix ourselves. When we lose everything, we start over. That is what humans do. We survive. Velos sat back down. Her legs felt weak. The Galactic Union sees violence as a failure, she said. A mistake. Something to be avoided at all costs. We see it the same way, Tay replied. But sometimes we cannot avoid it. Sometimes violence finds us. And when it does, we face it. We fight it. We win, and if you lose, then we learn from our loss and fight again. Velos looked at the human sitting across from her. He was not big or strong. He did not have sharp claws or thick armor. He was soft and fragile, like all humans dot, but inside, there was something hard. Something unbreakable. Something that had been forged in 10,000 years of fire and blood. I need to contact my superiors, Velos said. This evaluation. It has become something I never expected. Tay stood up and gave a small bow. Of course, Ambassador. Take all the time you need. As he walked to the door, Velos called out to him. Captain Tay. He stopped and turned. If the Galactic Union rejects humanity, if we decide you are too dangerous to join us, what will your species do? Tay considered the question. A small smile appeared on his face. We will survive, Ambassador. We always do. He left the room, and Velos sat alone with her thoughts. She had come to Earth, thinking humans were primitives. Now she knew the truth. Humans were not primitives. Humans were survivors, and perhaps they were the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever seen. 3 days passed. Velos spent most of that time in her ship, talking to the Galactic Council through long-distance communication. She told him everything she had learned about humanity. The thousands of wars. The millions of deaths. The nuclear weapons pointed at their own cities. The Council was shocked. This species should be extinct, said Admiral Koss, her direct superior. No civilization can survive that level of internal violence. And yet they have, Velos replied. They are here. They are alive. And they are reaching for the stars. Perhaps they are dying, suggested another council member. Perhaps their violence is finally catching up to them. No. Velos shook her head. I have seen their cities, their technology, their people. They are not dying. They are thriving. The council discussed for many hours. Finally, they gave Velos new orders. Learn more, Admiral Koss commanded. Find out how they survived. If there is a secret to their resilience, we must know it. So Velos returned to the human headquarters. She asked to meet with Captain Tay again. This time, she had different questions. They met in a room filled with display screens. Lieutenant Hannah was there too, ready to help show information. Ambassador, Tay greeted her. You look tired. I am, Velos admitted. Your species is difficult to understand. Perhaps I can help. What do you want to know? Velos sat down heavily. I want to know how. How did humanity survive so much war? How did you not destroy yourselves? Tay nodded slowly. He had expected this question. Lieutenant Hannah, he said, Please show the ambassador our medical history. Hana activated one of the screens. A timeline appeared, showing the development of human medicine through the ages. During the American Civil War, Hana began. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers were injured. The doctors developed new ways to treat wounds, new surgeries, new medicines. Many techniques we still use today came from that war. The screen showed pictures of old hospitals, doctors working on wounded soldiers. During World War I, Hana continued, diseases killed almost as many soldiers as bullets. So we developed vaccines. We learned how to prevent infections. We invented blood transfusions to save men who were bleeding to death. More pictures. More progress. All of it born from violence. During World War II, we invented antibiotics, penicillin. It saved millions of lives. Not just soldiers, but ordinary people too. Children, old people, people who would have died from simple infections. Velos watched the screen with growing amazement. You are saying, she said slowly, that your wars made your medicine better? Yes, Tay replied. Every war taught us new ways to heal. Every battle forced us to save more lives. Our medicine today exists because of the soldiers we needed to keep alive. Hana switched to a new screen. This one showed aircraft and rockets. Now look at our technology. The first airplanes were built for war. Bombs fell from the sky, so we learned to build better planes, better engines, better control systems. Today, those same technologies let millions of people travel around the world safely. The screen showed the evolution from simple warplanes to massive passenger aircraft. Nuclear weapons were built to destroy, Hana said. But nuclear power now provides electricity to millions of homes. We turn destruction into creation. More pictures. Nuclear power plants glowing in the night. The internet, Hana continued. It was created by our military to communicate during war. Now it connects the entire world. Every human on Earth can talk to every other human because of technology born from conflict. Velos stared at the screen. She was beginning to understand something important. You do not just survive your wars, she said. You grow from them. Yes, Tay replied. Every war leaves scars, but scars heal stronger than normal skin. We are a species made of scar tissue, Ambassador. We have been cut and burned and broken so many times that we have become hard to kill. Velos thought about her own species. They had avoided war at all costs. They had built their civilization carefully, slowly, peacefully. But they had also become fragile, soft. They could not imagine surviving the horrors that humans live through regularly. There is something else, Tay said. He walked to the window and looked out at the city. We do not just learn technology from war. We learn about ourselves. Velos tilted her head. What do you mean? Every war shows us the worst of humanity. Cruelty, hate, destruction. But it also shows us the best. Courage, sacrifice, love. He turned to face her. In our darkest moments, ordinary humans become heroes. They give their lives to save others. They stand against evil, even when they know they will die. Hana pulled up more images on the screen. A soldier carrying a wounded friend. A nurse working through the night. A civilian protecting children from bombs. We learn who we really are in war, Tay said. And every time we find that there is more good in us than evil. The hate always loses in the end. The heroes always outnumber the villains. Velos felt something strange. Something she had not expected. Respect. She was beginning to respect these violent, dangerous, terrifying creatures. Your species, she said, is like a blade that has been hammered and folded 1,000 times. Tay smiled slightly. Yes, that is a good way to describe us. A blade is dangerous, Bellows said. Yes, but it is also useful, strong, valuable. Tay nodded. We hope so. We hope that all our suffering has made us something worth keeping. Something that can help the galaxy, not hurt it. Bellows stood up and walked to the window beside Tay. She looked out at the human city with new eyes. On my world, she said, we have a saying. A tool that has never been tested cannot be trusted. We have a similar saying, Tay replied. Steel is forged in fire. They stood together in silence for a moment. Ambassador, Tay said finally, I know our history is frightening. I know we have done terrible things. But we have also done wonderful things. We have created art and music that make souls weep with joy. We have built machines that let us touch the stars. We have loved each other across distances and differences that should have been impossible to cross. He looked at her with earnest eyes. We are not just warriors. We are not just destroyers. We are creators too. Dreamers. Lovers. We contain everything. The worst and the best. And we are still learning. Still growing. Still becoming something better. Bellows was quiet for a long time. I believe you, she said finally. But I am not the one you need to convince. The Galactic Council will make the final decision about humanity's future. I understand, Tay said. We will accept whatever decision they make. Will you really? Tay smiled, that small smile again. We will accept it. But we will not give up. If they reject us today, we will try again tomorrow. And the day after. And the day after that. We do not stop, Ambassador. We never stop. Bellows looked at the human captain. At his calm face and steady eyes. At the history of violence and survival that lived inside him. No, she said softly. I do not suppose you do. Tomorrow, she would give her final report to the Galactic Council. And she would tell them the truth about humanity, every terrifying, wonderful, impossible bit of it. Bellows stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber was enormous, filled with representatives from over 500 species. They sat in floating seats that rose up toward a ceiling so high it disappeared into shadow. Each species was different. Some had wings. Some had tentacles. Some glowed with inner light. All of them were watching Bellows. Ambassador Bellows, said the High Speaker, a being made of living crystal. You have completed your evaluation of the species called humanity. Please give us your report. Bellows took a deep breath. She had practiced this speech many times. But standing here, with the weight of human fate in her hands, she felt the words change inside her. Honored Council, she began. I went to Earth expecting to find a young and primitive species. I expected peaceful farmers who had stumbled upon space travel by accident. I expected to complete a simple evaluation and recommend humanity for union membership. She paused. I was wrong. A murmur ran through the chamber. Humanity is not primitive, Bellows continued. They are ancient in spirit. They have been fighting wars since before they could write. They have killed millions of their own kind in conflicts that span their entire history. They possess weapons capable of destroying their planet several times over. And they continue to fight even now, as I speak to you. The murmur grew louder. Some council members looked alarmed. Others looked disgusted. They sound like savages, said a representative with silver skin. Surely we cannot allow such violent creatures into the Union. With respect, Bellows said, that was my first thought as well. But then I learned more. I realized that violence is only part of the human story. She activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared above her head. Cities, farms, mountains and oceans. People living their lives. Yes, humans fight. They fight constantly. But they also create. They build beautiful cities. They compose music that can make you weep. They paint pictures that capture the soul. They write stories that will live forever. The images changed. Art, music, literature, architecture, the achievements of human civilization. And more importantly, Velos said, they learn. Every war teaches them something. Their medicine came from treating soldiers. Their technology came from building weapons. Their unity came from facing common enemies. They have turned their violence into progress. She looked around the chamber. Most species in this union have had peaceful histories. We avoided conflict. We built our civilization slowly and carefully. And we became soft. Some council members shifted uncomfortably. Humans are not soft, Velos said. They have been hammered and broken and rebuilt so many times that they have become hard, strong, resilient in ways we cannot imagine. They have survived things that would have destroyed any other species in this chamber. She turned off the display. So my recommendation is this. Do not reject humanity. Do not ignore them. And above all, do not provoke them. The chamber was silent. If we reject humanity, Velos continued, they will not simply go away. They will keep reaching for the stars. They will keep growing stronger. And someday, they may decide that if the galaxy does not want them as friends, perhaps they will become conquerors instead. Is that a threat? Demanded a council member with red scales. No, Velos said. It is a warning. I have looked into human eyes. I have seen their history. I have felt the weight of 10,000 years of war pressing down on them. They are tired of fighting. They want peace. They want to join us as friends and partners. She stepped forward. But if we push them away, if we force them to fight, they will fight. And I do not know if we can win. The High Speaker raised a crystalline hand for silence. Ambassador Velos, the speaker said, are you suggesting that these primitive beings could threaten the entire Galactic Union? Velos did not hesitate. Yes, I am. The chamber exploded with noise. Representatives shouted at each other. Some laughed at the absurd idea. Others looked frightened. The High Speaker had to call for order several times before the room quieted down. This is unprecedented, the speaker said. No young species has ever been considered a threat to the Union. Humanity is unprecedented, Velos replied. They are unlike anything we have ever encountered. They do not fit our models. They do not follow our rules. They are chaos and creation and destruction all mixed together. She turned to address the entire council one last time. I do not know what humanity will become. They could become our greatest allies. They could become our worst enemies. But I know one thing for certain. They will not be ignored. They will not stay silent. They will keep reaching and growing and pushing until they find their place in the universe. She took a deep breath. My recommendation is that we accept them into the Union. We guide them. We teach them. We help them channel their violence into something positive. Because the alternative is to make an enemy of a species that has been practicing war since the beginning of time. Velos stepped back. Her report was finished, far away on the planet Earth. Captain Tay stood on the landing platform where he had first met the aliens. Lieutenant Hannah stood beside him. They watched the sky, waiting for news. Do you think they will accept us? Hannah asked. Tay shrugged. I do not know. The ambassador seemed to understand us. But understanding is not the same as acceptance. And if they reject us? Tay looked at the stars. Billions of lights scattered across the infinite darkness. So many worlds. So many possibilities. Then we keep going, he said. We build our own ships. We find our own allies. We make our own place in the galaxy. That could take thousands of years. Tay smiled. We have time. We have survived 10,000 years of war against ourselves. We can survive a little rejection from aliens. Hana laughed softly. You really believe we can do anything, don't you? I believe in humanity, Tay said simply. I believe in our ability to survive, to adapt, to overcome. We have faced worse odds than this and won. A week later, the message came from the Galactic Council. Humanity had been accepted into the Union. There were conditions, of course. Restrictions on weapons. Requirements for peaceful behavior. Observers would be stationed on Earth to watch humanity's progress. But the door to the galaxy had been opened. When the news was announced, people around the world celebrated. Fireworks lit up the sky in every nation. Strangers hugged in the streets. For one brief moment, humanity was united in joy. Tay stood on the roof of the United Nations building, watching the celebration. Hannah found him there an hour later. You should be down there, she said, celebrating with everyone else. Tay shook his head. I am celebrating, in my own way, by standing alone on a roof. He turned to look at her. We did it, Hannah. We reached the stars. After everything we have been through, all the wars, all the death, all the suffering, we made it. Hana came to stand beside him. Do you think we are ready to be part of something bigger? Tay thought about the question for a long time. No, he admitted. We are not ready. We are violent and unpredictable and dangerous. We will probably cause trouble. We will probably fight with our new alien friends. We will probably make mistakes. He looked up at the stars. But that is what being human means. We are not perfect. We never will be. But we keep trying. We keep reaching for something better. And somehow, despite everything, we keep surviving. Hannah smiled. The ambassador called us the most dangerous species in the galaxy. She was right, Tay said. We are dangerous. But we are also kind. We are cruel, but also loving. We are destroyers, but also creators. We contain everything, Hana. Every possibility. Every hope. Every fear. He turned to face her. That is what makes us human. That is what makes us special. Not our strength or our intelligence or our technology, but our ability to be everything at once. To hold contradictions inside us and still move forward. Somewhere in the galaxy, Ambassador Velos watched the celebrations on Earth through a telescope. She saw the fireworks. She saw the joy. And she wondered what the future would hold. Humanity had joined the Union, the most violent species in known history was now part of the galactic family. It was either the best decision the Council had ever made or the worst. Only time would tell. But Velos had learned one thing about humans during her time on Earth, one thing that gave her hope despite all her fears. Humans never gave up. They fell down and got back up. They lost and tried again. They broke and healed stronger. Whatever happened next, humanity would face it the same way they had faced everything else. Together. And the galaxy would never be the same again.